Hey, thanks for watching the kids on such short notice. Come on in.
Hey, I know we said 10, but do you think you could stay till 11?
Probably. Let me just call my parole officer.
This is your captain. Oops, never flown one of these. Don't push that, you idiot. That jettisons the fuel. Don't ever call me an idiot. You want to go? You want to do this right here?
How's it going, Coach? Good. Want you to meet your new star running back.
Son, our future is in your hands.
So let's get you checked out here. You say it's the leg here, and oh dear, yeah, that's the lump. Wow, that's cancer. That's gross. What's your schedule look like? We're probably gonna need to amputate today. Do you have a will?
That's my cell phone. I'm here for a flu shot.
Wow, close call. You are lucky to be alive. Let's get that flu shot taken care of. Okay.
Yeah, we're trying out a new small group. I'll talk to you later.
Kill them all, as soon as they come in.
He's dead. Let's get rid of him. Oh, hey guys, come on in. A little bit of a fly problem.
Hey, you guys, welcome to our small group. Come on in.
You've heard it said that you never get a second chance to make a first impression. Well, we live in a world where important decisions are often made on the basis of impressions, right? In a book called How to Speak So People Will Listen, it's a book written by a prominent Christian man who used to do seminars on Christian leadership. And there was a tremendous emphasis on projecting certain images and making impressions. Pages are devoted to such advice as buy 2 $125 suits rather than 4 $65 ones. I think this was made back in the time when that would equivalent to $500 suits versus $125 suits. And get your hair cut before you need one. And he recommended once a week. And there were 3 pages devoted to how to shake hands. He says the 2 worst handshakes are the half-gotchi and the old cold fish. The half-gotchi is when you reach for someone's hand and all of a sudden before your palms meet, you pull back and they lock down on your 4 fingers. He says, this always startles me and indicates to me an obvious lack of manliness, sincerity, and interest. So imagine, based on an awkward handshake, you might be judged to be an insincere, apathetic wimp. Now, even though there's a lot that is communicated through body language, I'd say that's a kind of a ridiculous extreme. You remember Lucy, as a psychiatrist, would be at her booth, and there's one strip where her little brother Linus had done a drawing, and she was evaluating this drawing, and she said, the fact that you drew this person with his hands behind his back indicates that you are insecure and lacking in confidence. He responded, the fact that I drew this person with his hands behind his back indicates that I can't draw hands. Well, we need to be very careful about drawing conclusions on the basis of impressions. I'm not saying that we should ignore the reality that people are doing that to us. We should try to let people know that we do care about them, whether it's through a handshake or through a facial expression. We should be a little bit concerned about what they think about us because it may affect their ability to accept us and our opportunities to serve them. But we need to be very careful about what impresses us. What attitudes did Jesus reveal on the subject of impressions? The truth is, he didn't seem to put a lot of stock in the things that often impress other people. He was not easily deceived by others, and he was not too concerned about his own image or his own reputation. He loved people, and he did what was best for them, whether it was what they wanted or not, and whether it was popular or not. He saw things in people that others didn't see, and this often led him to ignore good politics. It really seems to me that Jesus didn't care whether people thought he was doing good. He only cared whether he was doing good. So if we were more like Jesus in this way, many of our problems, whether it's in the church or in our families or in our work relationships, could be solved. We need to learn to focus on people as Jesus focused on people. So let's look at Luke chapter 20, beginning in verse 45. Beware of the teachers of the law. They like to walk around in flowing robes and love to be greeted in the marketplaces and have the most important seats in the synagogue and the places of honor at banquets. They devour widows' houses and for a show make lengthy prayers. Such men will be punished most severely. Now, we see some things in this passage that didn't impress Jesus, and something we will see in the following verses that did impress him. As he looked up, Jesus saw the rich putting their gifts into the temple treasury. He also saw a poor widow put in 2 very small copper coins. I tell you the truth, he said, this poor widow has put in more than all the others. All these people gave their gifts out of their wealth, but she, out of her poverty, put in all she had to give. Jesus was not impressed by externals. Jesus wasn't all impressed by prominence or achievement, not even when it may have been achieved in the context of religion and worship. I mean, that's what the teachers of the law, that's where they earned their prominence. They were studying, they were teaching, they were enforcing even God's law, and they spent lots of time, effort, and money on the promotion and practice of their religion. And they had risen to the top because of their discipline and hard work. Or had they really risen to the top? While discipline and hard work were likely necessary to make it where they were, don't you imagine that there were some other things involved more than discipline and hard work, such as God-given talent, such as being born into the right family, such as being in the right place at the right time, or such as what we might call luck, or good fortune, or providence, or blessings. See, it's not that it's wrong to have and enjoy things that are given to you, such as those things, not even when it's prominence or wealth. What is wrong is when we believe that we deserve those things that are given to us, and when we come to think that we should have them by virtue of who we are. Now, this seems to be what had happened to these men. How else could they teach God's law, say lengthy prayers in the morning, and then go out and use their legal knowledge to manipulate the system and take advantage of poor, defenseless widows? It was probably things like maybe they gave them a second mortgage or a mortgage on a home after their husband had died. Seemed like a kind thing to do so that she could get by. But then when she can't pay it, they foreclose and take her house. See, they didn't study the law and pray their prayers and give their gifts because they loved God. They did these things because they loved themselves. And can we fall into the same trap? Well, of course we can. And I call it a trap because I don't think that there are many of us who become Christians with the idea that we'll study, pray, and give our way into prominence. I doubt if many of the teachers of the law started out thinking that. Certainly, hardly any would have started out with the view that they'd eventually earn the right to take advantage of poor widows. You don't start out thinking that way. You fall into it. It's a trap. The more resources and opportunities that we have, the more susceptible we are to this particular trap. If you have a lot of talent in some area, if you have a lot of money, if you are attractive, if you are good at working with people and gaining their confidence, if you're intelligent, or if you just have the right opportunities, You seem to often be in the right place at the right time. Any of these things can be used by Satan to set you up for the fall. Now, what will likely happen is that you will do something good, or you will be put in a position of responsibility. People will praise the good things that you do, or they will trust you with a certain respect because of the position that you're in. See, there's nothing bad about doing good or bad about taking on responsibilities and being respected for it even. But it is dangerous. It's dangerous. Doing good things and doing big things involves a certain amount of risk. You can't avoid those things because of the risk. They have to be done, but you should be aware of the dangers and avoid those dangers. Of course, the danger we're talking about is pride. The teachers of the law weren't wrong to take on the responsibility of teaching the law. The wealthy that Jesus saw weren't wrong to give large gifts. The problem was that they began to judge themselves and others on the basis of the impressions their contributions made. See, if people were impressed by the degree that they had achieved or the insights that they offered into the law, they began to think, I am pretty amazing. And all of a sudden they had accepted the shallow standard of judgment that had given them that status, and they had been judged on the basis of appearance and externals, and God-given abilities are externals. But since they had made a good impression, or they had achieved an impressive position, they came out all right by these standards. See, chances are that back when they were the underlings that were working their way up to the top, they resented those standards. They likely thought, what makes him think he has the right to talk down to me like that? Or, he's so high and mighty because he's rich and he inherited half of it. But now that they're on top, the system isn't so bad. Christians are susceptible to this. If we're successful in our careers, if we're into community leadership positions, if we somehow become a type of celebrity, if in the church we serve as an elder, a preacher, an adult Bible class teacher, a song leader, or here's a subtle one, maybe you're very good at parenting, or happen to have easy kids that you get credit for. And then, of course, there are even teachers in preaching schools or Christian colleges or graduate schools with these degrees in Bible or religion. And any number of things may seem to be valid standards of judgment, but are really not things that we deserve a lot of credit for. God gives all of the talent and provides the opportunities. The one thing that we do is to make a decision as to how we use them and how hard we work at using them. So those two things reveal what really counts. It's what we do with what we are given that matters. That and whether we give the glory to God for his larger part in giving those things to us in the first place. So this is the test of sincerity. Sincerity is judged by what is on the inside, and that is what impressed Jesus. Jesus was impressed by internals. Here were all of these impressive people filing by the treasury, dropping in their impressive gifts, trying to keep their heads down and act humble and gracious, when this woman, dressed in worn, faded, patched clothes, trying not to be noticed, quickly drops in a few cents and tries to disappear. But she doesn't escape Jesus' eye. And she is the one who stands out in the crowd for Jesus. He is impressed. He's not impressed by the 2 copper coins any more than he was impressed by gold coins. He's not impressed by any beauty or poise that she might have shown in spite of her lonely position. He's not impressed by what he sees at all. He's impressed by what can't be seen. He's impressed by what is behind what is seen. He's impressed by her spirit, which can only be discerned through evidence. As Jesus told Nicodemus, remember in John 3, about everyone born of the Spirit. The wind blows wherever it pleases. You hear its sound, but you cannot tell where it comes from or where it is going. Jesus couldn't see her spirit, but he knew it was there, just as we don't see the wind, but we know it is there. So we got to be poor to impress God. No. We've got to put in everything we have to live on in order to impress God. Wrong again. We only need the heart to do what this woman did. And the giving of money is obviously not the only evidence of our sincerity. Money only represents all of the resources that we have to draw on. There is a funny thing about money, though. You'd think that the more of it you had, the easier it would be to give. That's often not true. No matter how much or how little money we have, our sincerity is put to the test with every opportunity to give. So how will we respond as people are quite likely affected by the current crisis and have no money because they have lost a job that only paid hourly wages? How much will we enjoy sharing with those people? But how else might our sincerity be tested? Any resource we have may provide a test of our sincerity. We have lots of them. All of those God-given talents, intelligence, attractiveness, opportunities, time, energy. We've already seen that it isn't important how much of these you're given. What matters is what you do with them. Now, we need to add the element of motive. Even if you do wonderful things with all of the things you've been given, it doesn't count if you're only doing it to receive a reward. How long do we keep on doing good when we don't know that it is appreciated? Will we keep on offering gifts if our hand is slapped away? Our homes are very good testing grounds for this aspect of sincerity. As parents, as husbands and wives, even as older children and brothers and sisters, do we quit doing things for others at home when those things are taken for granted? Or how about when those things are even criticized? You know, when a mother cooks a meal that requires a little extra effort and then the kids or even the father just eat it, or maybe won't even eat it. It makes it difficult for mom to make any extra effort the next time. Had a friend, Stephanie, whose father wanted to do something special for his family, and so he wanted to take them from Arkansas, where they lived, all the way to Pikes Peak in Colorado, about 1,500 miles. But after about 2 days of travel, when they were in western Kansas, I think, the kids were just at each other's throats. They were behaving so badly, and he had warned them so many times that he finally put on the brakes, he turned around, and he went home. And maybe that wasn't such a bad idea, but he went a little further. He said, we will never go to Pikes Peak. And they didn't. Did your parents ever feel that way? You know, we just won't ever do anything as a family again. Well, while these sorts of responses are very understandable, they really indicate that we are results-oriented and not in a good way. We're not really pleased just to serve. We want results. We want a response. And that means that we should question our sincerity. Is that more like the widow who dropped a few cents into the treasury, or is that more like the ones who gave gifts that would be noticed because of their size rather than the spirit behind the gift? As Christians, we don't work on a quota system. I'll do my 5 acts of kindness for the day, or I'll do the second mile for her, but that's it. That's the second mile. Well, the only limit as to what God will do for us is that he will only do what is good for us. So shouldn't that be our only limit? James said, anyone who knows the good he ought to do and doesn't do it sins. So that applies to church activities and programs, but more than that, it applies to sharing God's love with others, to serving those who are in need. It applies to things that we do that are good for ourselves. like Bible study and prayer, and even diet and exercise. And that applies to what we do with our money and the good that we know we ought to do at home. Wherever we are, we need to be impressed by the widows who aren't worrying about what they should do for food tomorrow as much as they are worried about enjoying what they can do for others today, no matter how small it is. And so we need to not only be impressed by the widows, we need to be widows in that sense.